3D QB trainer. We call him the quarterback whisperer. John, welcome back to BYUSN, who joins us from Miami. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's warm down here, fellas, and I'm doing good.
Hey, I got a phone call from you a few weeks back when you were back on campus dropping your son off at a football camp, and you got into LaVell Edwards Stadium, and you said you were feeling all this nostalgia, man. Like, what's it like to now be the old guy that played forever ago at BYU?
I now understand better Robbie Bosco. I'll just put it that way. I think it was the same time of when I was a quarterback there, how far Robbie was ahead of me. I'm now that to these guys now. But, yeah, LaVell Edwards is a special place, especially when it's lit up at nighttime. That's why I called you, man. It was awesome. I'm driving by an empty stadium with the lights on, and I had that little flicker on the inside just say, go in there. And so they were kind enough to let me in, and I could stand there for a little bit and just take it all in.
Outstanding. Those are phone calls that are always appreciated. I was excited for football that night. We're excited for football on the eve of Big 12 football media days as well. BYU picked 13th in a conference that has 16 teams for the first time ever. John, what was your initial reaction to the Cougars being picked 13th this year?
I mean, look, it probably feels like a little bit of a slap in the face to the guys on the team, but that's okay. I think anytime they do those preseason picks, they're gauging off of, well, we can't hand anybody wins. And so there's a lot of games there that I believe teams or the people picking are probably saying that's going to be pretty close, but based off of how the season finished, not going to a bowl game, I think the quarterback position, outsiders are wondering what's going to happen. You look at offensive production last year. How can you base what you saw last year and say, well, it's going to be for sure a different season? You have to go prove it. And so to me, I think BYU got this low ranking because they have a lot to prove. And that's the truth of it. As many inside the program may have excitement, those outside of the program say you haven't proven anything yet. And so I think it's fair. And as a player, that should excite you. That should be something that motivates you in the offseason. And quite frankly, I would much rather have that for a team I'm coaching than somebody telling us how great we're going to be going into an offseason. And so I think this could be great motivation for the guys.
Well, staying along those same lines, I mean, picked 13th in the conference by most prognosticators, Vegas, 4.5, 5 wins is pretty much where most have BYU pegged for total wins this season. Number one, do you think that's fair? And number two, what are your expectations in terms of wins and losses? What's possible with this team?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing I think. When you take off the thing of wanting BYU to have a great season, like I always do, and I just try to look at it from a perspective of, okay, what did the team look like last year, of what we've seen this year so far through spring ball, what can we expect? I do think it will be a challenging season to be able to become bowl eligible. I don't think it's going to be easy or a cakewalk by any means. So, you know, hey, 4.5 wins, is that legit? Make it 5.5. It doesn't really matter. I do think when you look at the schedule, like you guys are putting up right now, like there are some tough games in there, and BYU is going to have to find a way to win some tough football games to be able to get past that 6-win threshold to become bowl eligible. Would I like to see them win more? Absolutely. But going into this season, you know, right now, Jake Retzlaff is the quarterback that's played the most games for BYU. He's got the most snaps. When you look at somebody from the outside saying, well, who is Jake Retzlaff and what has he done? You're not going to be able to go in there and just hand wins to BYU football. When you say, all right, well, can they establish the run game? It hasn't been proven yet. And so that's why I think, like, look, sure, call it fair. It is what it is. I do think, though, it's going to be a challenging season. We're going to have to keep guys healthy, and those guys that have come into the program are going to have to step up in a big way. I like the new additions to the coaching staff. I've been able to be around the tight ends coach a lot. I think it's going to be great to have somebody that's bringing that knowledge to that position group, because we're going to need them a lot. And that's all of those things are going to help the quarterback play. I was listening to you guys before I came on about, you know, who's going to be our starting quarterback. It's going to be Jake. It's going to be Gary. Those guys have worked really, really hard, and that position is going to have to be earned. And the guy that does earn the position going into, you know, the season, he's going to have to win some football games. You know, you don't get to be out there playing and not winning football games when you're trying to step in and make a statement to a year where a lot of people are doubting you.
John Beck, former BYU quarterback great, one of the all-timers in Provo, and second-round NFL draft pick is on BYU Sports Nation. We mentioned you train quarterbacks at the NFL level, certainly at the collegiate level, out the highest of all levels, John, and you've worked with Jake and Gary and have seen them work out and progress this season. So let's kind of assess where both of them are at this point, in your opinion, beginning with Jake Retzlaff. Where do you feel like he's taken the biggest step forward if he is to be BYU's starter in Game 1?
Well, Jake has really improved in his consistency throwing the football. I think if people were able to see all of his reps during spring ball, you'd be able to see that. That was something. He has a unique sequence, and sometimes that works for him, and he can be in these funny body positions. And other times when he was going too fast, things could get away from him a little bit. I've seen him make great strides in his ability to be more consistent, which should lead to more accuracy. So now all that it comes down to is doing it on game day. Can he do those things that we saw during spring ball, which I thought was a really good spring ball by Jake? Can he do those things when it's live bullets, when it's against an opponent that's not your defense, when it's not the guys that you see every single day? And also, you have to step outside of kind of your main offensive football philosophy. You have your foundation, and you rep a lot of those foundational plays during spring ball. Well, then you get into the season, you keep those foundational plays, but then you also have to tweak things. And sometimes you don't have a ton of reps of the plays that you're going to be running on game day, and it's your ability to make it happen in the moment, even when you don't have a ton of reps at it. And so that's where, for Jake, the next stride is going to happen. He's more consistent. He's worked his tail off. I've seen him a number of times during this offseason. He's improved. Now he needs to take those improvements to game day.
What's your assessment of Gary Bohannon, John, at this point?
Well, it's been great for Gary to be healthier. When I first had an opportunity to be around him, he was still coming back from the arm injury. And so I've seen a great improvement in him because he's just healthier. I've seen it in a number of throws. To me, for Gary coming in as he's come in, it's always going to be about comfort, right? Jake is ahead in reps. He's been in the system longer. He's been around the teammates longer. He's ran plays in this system on game day. Gary brings with him experience from another program, played in a lot of games, but hasn't been in this system. So for me, he's going to be able to make some big strides continually during camp of just getting more comfortable in the system. It's good to see, though, both guys are entering camp healthy. Nobody's got some lingering injury. Gary's now a handful of months removed from when I was seeing him in the beginning. So to me, it's both these guys are about the best that they've been so far as they head into camp.
John, this probably is difficult to answer, and everyone's going to sort of, a quarterback playing well, they'll have different ideas of what that means. But we mentioned the 4.5 is kind of what has been pegged in terms of wins. If BYU gets good quarterback play, how much do you think that adjusts the win total? What is good quarterback play? How many more wins do you think that could add to, say, the 4-win number that's out there right now?
Yeah, I would say probably 3 to 4. I think that there's going to be 3 to 4 games this season that it's going to come down to the efficiency of quarterback play.
Wow.
And here's the thing about quarterback play. It depends so heavily on the guys around you, right? If we aren't running the ball well and protecting the quarterback, I don't care how good you are at your ability to throw the ball, make decisions. If you're getting hit every time you're throwing the football, if your team can't run the ball and you're constantly in, 2nd and 9, 3rd and 7 plus, 3rd and 11, there's penalties and you're, 3rd and long. It's too hard. So, okay, quarterback play does matter, but the pieces around the quarterback have to be functioning. If they're functioning, okay, now his decision-making, his ability to make critical plays on 3rd down, and also his ability to make something happen when there's nothing there. That's what both of these guys are going to be able to do. Both have the ability to extend plays. But I believe when you look at that schedule, there's some teams on that schedule that I think if BYU plays well, they have a chance to beat. Those are the teams that the people that peg that 4.5 wins aren't giving BYU. But they're going to be tough. It's going to be tough games, and we're probably going to be losing in the 4th quarter somewhere. And then, yes, when you're losing in the 4th quarter, what can you do offensively and quarterback play to find a way to claw back into it? Or maybe not losing, maybe I'll just say neck and neck, right? Like in those games, 4th quarter quarterback play, it's absolutely going to matter. And I think, look, if BYU starts off the season playing well offensively, what people think about BYU football will change. I'll just use the basketball situation. and what BYU basketball was able to do this last year. When they had those big wins, all of a sudden the perception of BYU basketball changed immediately. And that could happen to the BYU football team. It's going to be really tough, and they're going to have to grind their tails off, and they're going to have to find a way to make plays and to put themselves in better situations than they did last year. It has to start different than it did last year. But if it does, and those things are on track, good quarterback play can absolutely make a difference.
Elite insight from John Beck. We'll finish with this, John. Your good friend Zach Wilson, now a member of the Denver Broncos. He's in a quarterback battle of his own to be the starter in the Mile High City. He recently got engaged. Things are changing in his life. How would you assess Zach's state of mind, specifically as he approaches football with a fresh start of sorts?
I think it's been so good for Zach to get to a new place. A place where there are certain things about the organization. Look, all organizations have a feel in the building, a feel on the practice field. Yes, it's the same game, but you're in the same league, but the atmosphere and what is the culture of every team absolutely feels different. I can tell you this, Zach is really enjoying the culture that he's in. He's enjoying the people that he's around. And it's not to say that there weren't good people at the Jets. There were great people at the Jets. But this situation is allowing him to hit a restart button and to kind of be in like a rehabilitation mode, mentally, emotionally, get back to the joys of the game, get back to enjoying, earning things, enjoying just grinding things out and playing ball. So I'm happy for him. I don't know how it's all going to shake down. Jarrett Stidham has shown to be efficient in practices. He played in games last year, started some games for Sean. So he's been in it a little bit more. I think it's been great for Zach to be around the coaching staff there because those guys have been with Sean for so long in New Orleans, and now he has the entire band back together in Denver. I know that they picked a quarterback, Bo Nix, very, very high. So look, the future of the place is probably they're going to try to steer it that kid's direction. But in terms of Zach getting an opportunity to play in preseason games and potentially compete to start some games this year, it's absolutely there for him. And to wipe the slate clean and start over is such a good thing for Zach. It's good for all players, all athletes. And the truth be told, the ability to do that, even when you stay in the same organization, is a quality that helps athletes perform at a high, high level. Every year is a marathon of ups and downs. And whether or not you change teams, you have to be able to unhook the baggage that sometimes you're carrying around with you. Like, I love the statement, have a chip on your shoulder. You do not want to carry a boulder there on your shoulder because it just weighs you down. And so, like, for Zach, I think that he's in a great spot of just wiping so many things clean, fresh start, new system, a place that he knows excited for him. I know the quarterback coach there is really excited to have Zach, and I think good things can happen for him.
Hey, we know you're doing a great job with him in the 3D QB front. We can't wait for your 3D marital advice for Zach as well, John.
Well, look, he has found himself an amazing girl. He crushed it. She's awesome. Very positive person, very happy person. I'm really happy for both Zach and Nicolette that they were able to, take the next step, and they did it like in Italy. And so it's awesome. Zach did a great job there.
Outstanding. John, we appreciate the time and your busy schedule. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, you're welcome.
John Beck on BYU Sports Nation.
He's so great.
He's proclaiming he's not that old.
No.